All right, so are Ivy Leagues overrated? I think so. So I think this is something that's very interesting because I went to a public university, a decent one, a pretty decent public university, and you went to
Oh
Ivy
yeah,
League.
yeah.
Dartmouth
I
is
did.
Ivy, right? I want to make sure I got
Indeed,
that right.
it is one of the forgotten Ivies, but it is indeed an Ivy League school.
It's like
Yep.
Brown University. It's like, is Brown an Ivy League? It's like, well, who went to Brown? So
Oh man.
So there's a study here from 2015, and it talks about the salaries of Ivy League graduates versus public school graduates 10 years out of graduation. So it says the median annual earning for Ivy League graduates are 70,000 a year, 10 years after graduation, and the median for our other schools is 34,000. But what's actually very interesting is like that's just average, right? It's whatever. Like you're taking from like
Yeah.
all different schools, all different walks of life. But what I think is the more interesting statistic is the top 10% Ivy League grads earning 200, like the top 10% of the Ivy League grads 10 years out are earning $200,000 on average, while
Yeah.
the top 10% public school grads are only earning 70,000 out of graduation. So I guess the question we're trying to get to here is like, does going to Ivy League, and I want to hear your perspective, I'll share my perspective on public schools, does going to
Yeah.
Ivy League really pave that life for you out off the bat? So I guess I'll start with you. What was kind of your experience like going to like Ivy League in terms of like the experience and like how easy, hard it was to like find a high paying career out of college?
Yeah, for sure. So, going to an Ivy League school, I was like top of my class, and then I think it's like I went to a normal public high school in America, top of my class, went to an Ivy League school. I immediately became a really small fish in a really big pond, right? It's
How
like
many people
basically, it's like
are
you basically
Dartmouth?
take like maybe 1,200 per year. Very
Oh.
small, super small school.
Yeah.
So in total, like for all 4 years, like seniors, sophomore, junior, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, there's maybe 4,500, 5,000 kids total. Really small. So basically, almost everybody there was basically top of their class or near the top of their class. I think there's a statistic that said 50% of my class was salutatorians at their high school. 30% were valedictorians of their high school. So everyone was pretty academically like quite strong, and I was immediately crushed. College was so much harder for me than high school. High school was pretty chill. I did study hard and I did well. College, that was the first time where I had this identity crisis where like my identity was the guy that had his shit together, got good grades and everything. And for the first time, that was not me. I was really struggling at school. And I guess also going into college, I always thought that I'm going to be surrounded by incredible geniuses, such smart people. Wow. But in the end, 18-year-olds are going to be 18-year-olds. College students are going to be college students. It's like they're going to do whatever the hell that they want to do. Like across any school, there are going to be crazy nights where people like to go out, and like it's not going to be just like there's going to be really shitty people and really great people, and that's at any school too. And then in terms of the career outlook, I do think that getting a high-paying job at an Ivy League school is a lot easier compared to state schools. Not because we're necessarily smarter, but it's because a lot of these companies, they recruit exclusively at the top 10 schools, the top 20 schools. So it's like you look like job recruiting starts your sophomore summer. So at Dartmouth, your summer after your sophomore year, you're the only class that stays on. So it's only like 1,000 people on campus. Everyone is your year. And that's when the first job recruiting session starts. So you get started early, and it's a part of the culture. And it's like the companies that come and recruit, they're all the top. Yeah. Like all the top companies are there to recruit. All the top investment banking firms, consulting firms, tech companies, everyone is there because they're biasing themselves and to only want to select these people. So I think the high earning status, like it's true, vast majority of my friends graduated from college making minimum six figures, usually around the 120 to 150K range. And really, I think because my older brother actually went to UC San Diego, so I know a good amount of public schools as well. And like, a lot of my friends from high school also went to public schools. And I think what was really the biggest culture shock for me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, was the fact that it seems like at the UCs, because all my friends were UC students, they graduated from college. Like everyone's main objective was to graduate early. And it's like, I'll graduate first and then I'll look for a job after. Whereas the normal culture, the normal thing to do, at least at Dartmouth, was you are gonna graduate with a job. If you do not land a job in like October, November of your senior year of college, you are not in a good spot. Like that's when you get super stressed out and everyone's like, holy crap, like I need to land a job this winter quarter. I need to land a job in spring. Like, it's almost as if when someone asks, hey, what are you doing post grad? If you didn't say, oh, I got a job at XYZ company, and you said, oh, I'm still figuring it out, people would be like kind of surprised and like really concerned. It's like, oh shoot, like, is everything okay? How can I help you out? Like,
do you have a medical condition? You know?
No, but seriously, it's like, it was a norm. So to go back to this point about Ivy League grads making more, I just think it's because companies exclusively recruit much more actively from these schools, not because they're necessarily smarter or anything. Like, trust me, we're not. It's just these companies bias themselves. But I want to hear from you from like your UC perspective.
Yeah. I guess just to add on to that, it's like I think a huge portion just like it kind of like ties into the culture of the school. Like if everyone's doing it, you're doing it too, right? Because all your peers are talking about it. You're going to be like, well, shit, I can't fall behind. I need to go do this. So you're going to hate me for saying this, but I had a very different experience than you did in terms of like going to high school or college. So I don't know if it has to do with the high school I went to, but I struggled a lot in high school. Like my high school was pretty competitive in my opinion. Like our AP Calc class, if you didn't get 5 on the AP, you were like shunned upon. It's like, what do you mean you didn't get 5 on AP? It's like everyone gets it. Like we have like a 95% 5 rate on our Calc AP or BC class. Like everyone got 5. If you didn't get 5, it's like, what the fuck happened to you? So I think because of that, like I went to a pretty rigorous high school. I was like ranked like top 3 to 5% ish. But when I went to college at UC San Diego, don't get me wrong, it's a very smart school. I have met some of the smartest people at UC San Diego that I ever met in my life. I also met some of the dumbest people I ever met in my life.
Same.
Like you're like from one end you're like, wow, how did I get into school as you? On the other end you're like, oh, how did you get into school as me? It's like what happened here? Your engineering degree as well? What the fuck? You know? But I didn't struggle that much in college, I feel, because I think I went through and again, maybe it's because the school I went to, the caliber was maybe a little lower than my typical like Ivy Leagues or Berkeley or something. But I worked hard. I studied hard, but it was definitely not as much of a grind. I didn't have much of an identity crisis in college. I actually felt pretty good about myself because I graduated like top of my class. I had 3.7 GPA. I graduated cum laude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I had a streak. I had a running streak in my engineering calc classes in which I had 100% in all those classes for like 4 classes in a row. Not 99.99. It was 100. I got 100% on all the homeworks, all the midterms, all the finals. And it blew my mind because I was like, why the hell is the average a D? What's going on here? Like, do you guys not understand integrals or something? Like, I literally got 100%.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm like tooting my own horn so hard right now, but like...
No, that's good. I love it.
Like, so I mean, I didn't say I didn't struggle in college, but it definitely wasn't like something that I think back upon. I was like, dude, that was the worst years of my life. I was like, no, I felt pretty good myself. I was like, we can get way deeper into this why I decided to pivot into investment banking in a bit, but in a different episode. But overall, like, kind of like picking back what you said, I do think like public schools, I met a lot of people in which their goal was to graduate early. Either they just want to get out of school, or they want to go to grad school, or they just didn't think too much about it. They're just like, oh, I'm just trying to graduate, right? Well, for me, like, I took a 5th year, dude. I took a victory lap. By the way, best idea of my life. I recommend everyone to take a victory lap. Stay in school as long as possible. It's fun. Don't start working, okay? Please. But
facts.
Yeah,
facts.
In general, like, unless you're in like, I don't want to say top 10%, top 20% in terms of like GPA wise, but in terms of like, I guess like mindset and understanding how like the system works. And I was lucky enough that I met, smart people early on and had like, junior, senior mentors at my school to tell me like, oh, you got to get internships, you got to do this, you got to do that. I think like a good like 50 to 60% of my school, they didn't have like internship or experiences until like they hit senior year. And that's when they're like, oh crap, I need to like find a job at the college. And then that's when they start scrambling. But unless like you're that crowd that was already planning for that, a lot of people, I feel like a good majority of my school, they didn't plan for them to senior year. And like, a lot of them were like trying to find a job until like spring quarter or even after graduation. Like it wasn't unheard of to not have a job offer before you graduated. It was kind of like, oh, you're same boat as me, you know, in that way. So I definitely do think like culture plays a huge role in it. And also UC San Diego is a very tech heavy school, very, very tech heavy. So I think like in terms of like tech, including like software engineering, just general engineering, we compete against like the Ivy Leagues. We compete against Berkeley. I mean, Google comes to Berkeley, LA, San Diego. Like they don't give a fuck. They don't want good software engineers. You're going to find good software engineers everywhere, right?
For sure.
If you're like a software engineer at UCSD, like you're chilling. Like we literally had 2 career fairs. We had one career fair for every other major that isn't engineering. And then we had a second career fair for engineering majors, and we had 2 ballrooms. One ballroom was for all other engineering, and one ballroom was specifically for software engineering.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think like at UCSD, like if you're a tech major, like you're a software engineer, like I mean, all my tech friends that graduated, which low key right now, I'm like, dude, you guys are living a good life. You know, it's kind of blends that thought. I was like, they're all doing very well right now. So
no, it's interesting because Dartmouth was like a little different in that we were not a tech heavy school. So it's like the tech recruiting was small but growing because like during my years there, they were investing more into it. But the vast majority of when I say job recruiting at Dartmouth, like what I mostly mean is consulting and investment banking. That's what everybody was crazy about.
Yeah, or hedge funds. I know the school, like I think like a couple kids going to hedge funds as well. Yeah, I guess just to wrap this up, like, so do I think going to a public school versus Ivy League makes a difference between your earning capacity after college? The hard answer is no, because if you are an individual that's able to find the proper resources, network with the right people, and understand how the game works, you can, for example, you can get into investment banking for UC San Diego. I mean, I'm a speaking prototype right here. Okay, like that can happen. But if you just kind of follow what the masses are doing at each individual school, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. Like, yeah, of course, at Dartmouth, you're surrounded with like a bunch of like high achieving kids. You're going to do high achieving kid things. While UC San Diego, you're going to have your pocket of high achieving kids, and you're going to have pockets of like slackers.
No, I totally agree. I think it's totally true. I think that at Dartmouth, it's just like, I think at UCs, you have to like really, you're kind of left out alone, and you have to figure out what exactly
the school doesn't help you that much. It really doesn't.
Yeah, the school doesn't help you.
No.
Whereas, and I think the biggest difference is that with Ivy League schools, because the student population is much smaller and they have more money with like their endowment and stuff like that, they hold your hand a little bit more if you need that assistance. So they'll like push you, and the general school culture will also kind of like push you in that direction too. Like it's hard to not know that recruiting is going on. Whereas I feel like at a UC, like
you wouldn't
really
know.
Big schools,
you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, dude, you wouldn't know unless you're in that pocket students that understand like, oh, career fair is happening tomorrow. Some people are just like, yo, why are there so many lines at the gym today? What's going on here? It's like, oh, it's career fair. Oh, what? Companies are recruiting today?
Yeah.
I was gonna say one more thing. Oh yeah. Were there a lot of rich kids at your school at Ivy Leagues? Like people from influential families?
Old money, dude. Like, I'll say this. I don't want to disclose too many names because I don't know like how chill they would be.
Name the company. Name the family. Like fucking Rothschild or something, you know?
I think the most notable person was not in my year, but 2 years above, there was a Rockefeller in that class. And I think there was also J.D. Salinger. Don't quote me on this. I could be wrong, but J.D. Salinger, the author of The Catcher in the Rye, I think their grandchild was in like a year above me or somewhere around there. And also just in general, I don't want to disclose company names because you can look them up, but there were some people that I also knew where their parents were CEOs of very big companies as well. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah. Definitely lots of old money. And I think that was so crazy for me because it's like, I don't want to stereotype, but I don't know if I want to say this, whatever. I'll debate whether I want to include this or not, but
just say it and we can cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah. basically in high school, like the top students in my class were all Asian people. Even though my school is majority white, the top students were always Asians. And I always wondered, like, where are all the super, super smart white people in my high school or like in general? And I realized they were all at boarding school on the East Coast. Like, that's like where like the Exeters, the Andovers, they were all there.
Yes, I heard that school
Yeah.
too. I one of my coworkers went there.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of crazy. Like and like the people that go to those schools, typically, I think like a lot of old money there for sure.
I'm a wrap it up with this last thought. My school, oh man, like what did your parents do? It's like, dude, my parents like it it was rare to have a parent that was like a entrepreneur, unless like they were, I don't know, carpenters or contractors or something. But like most of like my school, their parents were like, again, nothing wrong with this, but like normal 9 to 5 jobs, minimum to like middle class salary, you know, like
Yeah.
I like, okay, I'm not the exception, but like my dad's a professor in Taiwan. So I have like the ones where I was like, oh shit, your dad's a professor? That's kind of cool, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think we can do a whole nother episode dedicated
Dude, we can
to
go
colleges
so
in
deep
general.
into this. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. But I will say, I think the one thing I love about UCs is the fact that UCs are schools that give chances to people that are not from really great backgrounds to really level up their lives. And whereas
True.
like luxury schools, like the private schools, the Ivy Leagues, they don't allow that because they're a luxury brand. They can't take everybody. And I love how UCs actively support those types of students by accepting huge amounts of students and really like boosting their standard of living with their education. So I love the UC system for that.
I agree. I agree too. And honestly, if I learned anything, it's a good running lesson too, right? You learn you're basically thrown in the water and you have to fend for yourself and fight for yourself. But it kind of, as much as I hate to say, it kind of builds character. You're like, oh shit, I need to figure out my own. Like, no one's gonna come save me. No one's gonna hold my hand. You sink or you swim. It's like kind of like that mentality a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.